This show contains adult-orientated content.
You're listening to Smegcast with Matt, Gary and Devon.
One of the issues I have now, we were talking about my big book, right? Not a euphemism. There is a literal big book here. You see, I have a problem, Devon. You see, because I like to think I'm a student of history, of course, as well. I'm more of an idiot of history, but I like to think I'm a student of history, so I want to learn about history. So when I learn about history, I read big books very slowly and very arduously. But I have been reading this one, and it's a really famous book actually. It's a really good book. It's The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich.
Oh, wow.
Okay, right. So it's a big, long book. It's by William Shirer. He's a very, very famous reporter, an American reporter who was in Nazi Germany way back when it was roaring in the 30s. The problem I have, though, is that the front of the book is a giant swastika. It's a real problem. And so, as you can tell, what I actually do with the book is I cover it with brown paper. So if I'm sitting on a train somewhere and I'm standing in front of 100 people in a train carriage, and I've got a gigantic book with a swastika on it, and I'm reading it casually on the train, I feel like it'll be offensive to people.
Yep.
So I have to take that extra step, and I have to cover it in brown paper, and then I'm okay. But yeah, so I just want to say, you have to. It's a delicate world out there. If you're reading books that do have offensive things in them, be careful.
It's actually funny that you were talking about Hitler, because I actually was just doing some research on Hitler.
Really?
Just at a pure coincidence, surprisingly
Right.
enough. So, you know how, even for example...
Any reason you're researching Hitler? Or it's just Sunday night,
It actually, one of the things that kind of inspired me to do it was, when you think of Star Wars, you had Anakin Skywalker, who eventually becomes Darth Vader. There was...
there's a big allegory there, isn't there?
And how there's that sort of turning point where, what turned them to the dark side, or, there had to have been something. So...
Well, I think, even the allegory of the Star Wars and the Nazi thing is so overt even now, because I think in the new Star Wars movies, they call the Empire the First Order.
Yeah.
But of course, the Nazis were coined as being the New Order.
Yeah.
So even now, it's not subtle.
Yeah. So that's what got me thinking about Hitler, and I thought, Hitler was probably once a nice kid. He was probably just
he was a child.
He was a child, so he would have been relatively normal. And then I thought, what was it that made him turn?
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, because just recently...
I think a lot of people deal with that question, don't they?
Well, one thing I just thought of recently was, we've just had Halloween, right?
Yes, right.
And it got me thinking, and I thought...
It's a big day of the year.
So you just imagine, okay, we'll go back to Germany, or actually Austria.
True.
True,
because he wasn't German.
No, he was Austrian.
Yeah.
From Linz.
Okay, let's go back.
Let's go back to Linz.
Let's go back. Okay.
All right, so
we're in Linz now. That was what it was. So we just travelled there.
That's
incredible.
That was a quick flight, and so you just imagine. Okay, you've got young Hitler and his best friend Klaus Barbie.
Yes,
they're thinking of what to wear for Halloween.
What an unfortunate name.
Yeah. So you'd probably think, Klaus Barbie. He'll probably dress up as Barbie. Blonde hair, tight dress, fake tan, whatever.
Right.
But then you look at Hitler and think, what was Hitler's favourite character?
Yeah.
Now,
you mean to dress up as?
Or just in general, do you know what Hitler's favourite character was?
I'm going to guess this, right? I think I might know this. Because as you know, Devon, I have a massive book about Hitler in front of me. So I have been reading a little bit about it. I think would it be Mickey Mouse?
No.
Oh, right, okay. So I know he's linked with Mickey Mouse historically in a few bizarre ways. Okay, tell me.
No, Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, right. Of course, right.
So you just imagine there's Klaus Barbie dressed up as Barbie, and there's Charlie Chaplin,
right?
Or Hitler dressed up as Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah,
they're probably walking down the street, wanting to get candy and stuff like that. So, but you think
which is such an American icon. It's very strange.
Yeah. So you just imagine though, Hitler, he would have put on that first little black moustache, and then he probably would have thought, "Wow, I actually look good with that moustache. Maybe when I grow up, I should have a moustache like that."
Yeah.
So
someday.
So that's what I reckon's probably happened there in that regard. But then I sort of thought...
I like how you've really thought about it. I mean, you say that, it's not even a joke. You're telling me the story that could have happened. I mean, he may have just dressed up with a moustache and thought, this works.
Well, that's the thing.
And the thing is, for someone so famous, you think he would have got older and got, I'm going to switch things up a bit. Let's go a bit of handlebars.
Yeah.
A bit of goatee. No. Maybe, but he was so rigid with his facial hair. He was very, very, he was not willing to break his rule. about the old moustache. You know, he never switched it up at all, which is surprising. He just went, no, works.
Yeah, so you imagine that young Adolf Hitler, first Halloween, dressed up as Charlie Chaplin, likes the look, decides to keep it as part of his regular wardrobe. Basically,
yeah, right.
You know, but then, you know, the two of them, they probably would have been walking up the street and, you know, probably Klaus Barbie would have said to Hitler, oh, you know, which street should we go to where all the good candy is? And, you know, Hitler would have probably said, well, first, we've got to take the first left and then the Third Reich.
Oh, God.
There we go.
Brilliant.
So there's that, right?
That's the first one.
So then they would have been, you know, door knocking and things like that too. Now, you know, probably most people would have been quite happy to give him candy because after all, especially in Austria and Germany.
Did they trick or treat back then, though? I mean, it would have been quite dangerous, you know, surely yeah.
But back in those days, you know, you think Germany and Austria, it's a land of chocolate.
Well, yeah, but also it's not really a populated area, Devon. I mean, the distance between house 1 and house 5 could be like 35 miles. I mean, in the country in Austria, you know.
So you imagine then, you know, Hitler would have been door knocking, you know, getting candy, and then, you know, he knocks on one door and the guy goes, sorry, I'm not going to give you any candy. Now, one of the things is, well, back in those times, there was probably quite a big Jewish community as well.
Totally.
So, you know, unfortunately, we all know he was not a fan of the Jewish community.
And even as a young person, I mean, he was actually, his education was really beaten into him.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, that's the horrible thing is that he, you know, even at an early age, he was so anti-Semitic.
So you think he would have door knocked, you know, probably the average German or Austrian would have handed him some candy, for example, but then when it comes to the next person,
yeah,
it might have been a Jewish person and he's gone, oh, great.
And actually, the anti-Semitism stuff, that was all over the place before any of that happened.
So you think, so something once again like Halloween could have then obviously steered him as well.
I agree, because, like, you know, right, so you're saying it's more of a, like, it plants a seed of, like, that type of person, that ethnicity didn't give me candy when I was 8 years old, and therefore world domination. One of the interesting things is reading about this is reading about, because you're right, you know, you're going back to your point of the turning point of someone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is always more interesting than even what happened in World War II. Yeah. It's always much more interesting to go, well, how does this person go from being like a cute baby to doing the most horrible, horrific things ever? I mean, that is a very, very interesting thing. And it's kind of one of those questions that it's very difficult to avoid. I mean, you really want to pursue that and read about it a little bit. So I've only started reading it now, but like I said, yes, I need to be careful about the cover of the book. I'm just surprised. Like, honestly, it looks like a manual for Nazis. It's a pretty terrible cover. One of the parts of reading this Third Reich book I found good was about, you know, the fact that, you know, Hitler's original name wasn't Hitler. It was Schicklgruber. I think it's Schicklgruber, if I'm right, which is quite hilarious, because imagine if somebody had to walk around Berlin holding out their hand saying "Hail Schicklgruber," wouldn't sound half as bloody, you know, good as fucking Hitler, would it? You know, so there's a legitimate argument to be made that if his name hadn't been changed by the generation before him, he would have never had the actual namesake to get elected or to become a leader of a party, because honestly, his name sounds a little bit silly otherwise.
But it is funny too. Have you ever seen? There's some footage of the Berlin Olympics
on the 36.
Yeah, and so you'll see Hitler there, basically with all the people in the crowds, and honestly, he was like a rock star.
Yeah, of course.
Honestly, you know, people sort of go, oh, you know, everyone hated him. But I tell you, if you watch the footage, you had kids in the street, you know, with their hands up in the air. You know,
of course.
He was a rock star. Honestly,
exactly.
If you saw it, like he was like the biggest celebrity, and even the funny thing was, if you look at some of the footage, you'll see all these young boys almost dressed in sort of like almost like Boy Scout outfits. You know, so they probably were maybe like army cadets, but you know, maybe just young teenagers who were doing it.
And that was 36, so they would have had the Hitler Youth by then too, so it could have been part of that.
So, and you'd see them with all with their hands up in the air, but and you'd see them waving, and honestly, it was almost like the German equivalent of a Mexican wave.
Yeah, right.
If you watched it, it was actually quite an impressive sight. But the thing was, the clip that I've seen,
right,
they ended up, rather than having all the not typical German voices and stuff, they played a track over the top, which was by a Swedish band, which was by Europe.
Right.
With the final countdown. So it was kind of funny.
Brilliant.
Because it kind of actually tied in quite well, because when you sort of watched it.
Like it's synced up?
Yeah, you had this 80s glam rock band music overlaying the imagery of Hitler at the Berlin
Olympics. That's crazy, man. Yeah, it's so ingenious. Like I think people that do that and to undermine kind of that hero worship they had for him is that's great because it just makes you think how silly it was as well. It was very intense though, and you're right. I mean, I think that's one of the big things people have trouble with and historians struggle with is kind of how accepted really was he in the society when he was, came up and it was pretty rife. I mean, he really was accepted by a huge amount of people. The guy was an amazing liar. I'm kind of at the point in the book where he's just openly, he just does speeches about peace. Yeah, which is hilarious because he's just sitting there going, the most important thing Germany has is ongoing peace. War's terrible. It will be awful for the country. Peace is the only way to go. And then, like, as he's saying this, they're building like 400 U-boats, out the back. And the guys are hammering all the nails in, going, get the shit done. He wants it done by tomorrow. And so it is funny. I mean, there's a comedic, tone of it all, that it is so outrageous and so ridiculous that this all actually happened. It's really hard to take sometimes when you're reading it. It's full on. But the name thing I find interesting. It just shows you kind of, there's a slight weird conspiratorial thing that a lot of things lined up for him to end up in that position, which is odd. Very strange.
But see, one of my favourite German surnames is a surname called Katzenschläger.
Katzenschläger.
Which basically means cat beater, surprisingly.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know if there was...
So in German?
In German,
That's hilarious.
It actually means...
So you could be Devon Cat Beater. What a great fucking name that would be.
That was the thing, so I don't know.
Imagine getting elected with that. He's like, I will beat cats remorselessly.
So that's the funny thing. So when you look at the English language, you've got names like, just like Goldsmith or Black, or you've got sort of names that maybe originated from certain professions and things like that.
Yeah, true.
Back in the day,
like Danny Boat Builder or whatever. Yeah.
So you sort of makes you wonder, with how some names came about. Was there an actual profession of maybe even in medieval times, where you had a person who beated cats?
I spent a long time trying to figure out what I'm good at, but I've realised that beating a cat is number one for me. And it's true because Goldsmith obviously did come from the job. Butcher, butcher's a name.
Yep.
Clearly that's a butcher. You would have to have had a butcher in your family to have that name. Yeah, cat beater just sounds a bit, it's a bit dodgy. See,
I just wonder if, there was, remember like in the Harry Potter movies, there was a scene where the kids, when they first arrived at the school, I can't remember even that.
Hogwarts.
Good old Hogwarts, when they're sort of trying to decide which house group to go in, and so I think they put this big talking hat, like a talking witch's hat on top of the child's head.
Right.
And then the hat would be sort of thinking, going, yes, I'll put you in Slytherin house.
Right,
and stuff like
so
that.
he decides, the hat decides where they're going.
Yeah, so I just wonder if there was like someone or something back in the day that was trying to decide, different names for people. Like you think, oh, there's that guy.
You cat beater.
You cat beater. Or then you had that one girl in the town who they go, oh, you smell of bleach, peroxide, fake tan, and football teams.
Kardashian.
Yeah.
I never really got into the Harry Potter thing. Did you get into it? Like it was a big deal.
I didn't.
You didn't, but you were a bit old for it. Would I be right?
Yeah, I probably was, but it was just it's a kid's book.
It is a kid's book.
There was
nothing wrong with that.
No.
I think for me, I just hit my teenage years as the first book really came, exploded essentially.
So did you call yourself Gary Potter?
I didn't. I think you are the only person that's ever called me that, because that's not the first time you've called me that name. I think you're the only one that's come up with that. I also think you're the only one that thinks it's funny. It's like the thing about the Harry Potter thing is it was so huge, but I think I hit like 15 or 14 when it really became really big. And as you said, it was the first book is legitimately a kid's book, which the other ones they kind of get a bit more adulty as you go on. I think what I missed about Harry Potter is that essentially, like I went to college really as Harry Potter exploded. When I look at Harry Potter, I'm kind of going, where's that scene where Harry and Hermione are like smoking weed, on the grass outside, Hogwarts, going, fuck it. Let's skip the fucking wizard class and let's get out and get smashed. I mean, I just feel, I'm not saying the whole thing needs to turn into fucking dazed and confused, but I'm just a bit though.
Yeah. It probably would have been known as, Harry Pothead and the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Harry Pothead. I feel the series coming on now. But I do feel like that because there'd be a lot of like, Harry, you must get this right. There's a lot riding on this. You need to be good at this Quidditch stuff, or else life or death situation. And Harry's like, man, you just need to relax. I just feel like I needed a scene where Harry Potter, got drunk and made a fool of himself, or spent like a good evening throwing up for like 12 hours. And I thought, this would have spoke to me because I would relate to that.
You didn't really have any teen pregnancies or anything like that in Harry Potter at all.
Not
either,
really.
Like you.
It's very Jane Austen-y when it comes to men and women. It's very like, I think they like me, but I think I'll keep a good solid 50-foot distance between us so we can look longingly at each other for the next 3 movies. Did you read the books?
No, I didn't even read the books.
You never actually read them?
No, I never actually read the books.
There is a lot, You'd have to actually, if you were to read them now, you'd need to dedicate a year to that.
Yeah, I don't really like reading novels, and I like reading for like information.
Yeah, of course.
I've always been that way.
But you're very, you're a factual person, Devon, though.
Yeah.
Would I be right to say that you don't see the benefit of reading a novel because it's not true? That's why you indulge in the fine art of such masterpieces as Baywatch. And what's that other movie?
Chips.
That's the one.
Oh.
I didn't want to actually say it because it obviously exists if you say it.
I told you I bought it on DVD as well.
I should tell the listeners that, after quite a long time of Devon bringing Chips up on this show, and of course, you did the review, which was wildly successful. I think it's literally the most downloaded episode we have is you talking about fucking Chips. But you've obviously been talking to me a long time about watching Chips.
Yes.
Now you actually, Devon took me on like a man date of sorts, and he took me out for dinner, which is hilarious to start with. You're kind of like, okay, thanks, Devon, I appreciate that. It's a bit creepy, but that's fine. And then, and so we had dinner. I don't know, what did I eat? I had chicken. You had steak.
I had the steak.
Yeah. That's
medium rare mushroom sauce, chips and salad.
That's right. I do not remember what I ate. I think it was chicken. It was the roast chicken.
Mind you, it wasn't like what we call a fancy restaurant. It wasn't as though I wined and dined you or anything. It was a pub meal.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It was the most blokey venue
were you like,
come across.
Cheap fucking date. I'm not spending any fancy money on him.
There was no linen, no white linen. There was, there was
no waiter really. We had to go to the bar. No table service.
There was no sort of wine sitting in a cooler bucket with ice and like violinists or anything like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But look, Dave, you made the effort, Devon. I appreciate that. You know, so and honestly, if Devon's going to take you on a date, it's not that bad. It's pretty good. And so and then you kind of were like, listen, I'm glad you enjoyed your meal. I really want to seal the deal. So you took me back and you go, come back to my place. We'll fucking watch Chips, man. Let's watch it. So we actually went to Devon's place. He actually showed me the movie Chips. Now, I indulged it more for the fact because you just wouldn't shut up about it. Yeah. And I just thought, fuck it, I'll just fucking watch this movie so I don't have to fucking... Well, I guess if I'm going to talk to you about it, I should watch it. I guess that's what my point is. Yeah. And I did watch it, and it wasn't great. I'm not gonna lie, Devon. It wasn't brilliant. I went to it and I thought, I've been bad mouthing this movie, and I've never seen it, and I've been bad mouthing it for nearly a year. Maybe it's all right. Maybe it will be surprising. Maybe I will watch it and I'll be like, damn, that's fucking all right. And then I watched it and I was pleasantly upset that did not happen.
For me, it's still the movie of the year.
I know you still haven't.
I've watched it a few times since as well.
I know you have. I would ask you how many, but I won't creep everyone out. I want to ask though.
Yes.
The other one you did, which I do enjoy. I really do like the Baywatch one we did.
Yes.
So have you bought the Baywatch DVD?
I've got the Baywatch DVD as
well. Cool. So did you buy the extended cut?
Yes. Yeah, I did actually.
Oh yeah. Is it still, it holds up?
For me, it's not as good as Chips. Well, see, I'm actually quite excited at the moment, and I keep forgetting to do it, but I discovered that there's been a Joe Dirt 2.
Oh, there has been actually.
Yeah, so I want to get that one on DVD. It's actually $6. I don't think it actually went to the movies.
Okay.
So
that's a shocker.
You can learn a lot from Joe Dirt.
You can. Many's a time you have taught me something that begins with the term, actually, in Joe Dirt, and then you'll explain something. It's pretty remarkable.
It basically is the American equivalent of the Encyclopedia Britannica.
It's got hidden depths.
It's got lots of stuff in it. They're tackling stuff, like American muscle cars,
right?
Incest. There's the mafia. The mafia is in it. There's an American Indian. One of the Arquettes. I think there's so many.
One of them. Doesn't matter which
there's
one.
One of them. It's funny, but they're all...
Well, like a male one?
It's a female one.
Oh, is it Patricia? Patricia Arquette?
She's the one that's been in that movie, The Whole Nine Yards.
Okay.
Where she does a really bad sort of French-Canadian accent.
Sounds, well, sold. Fuck, I'm going to watch that movie. I never watched that movie.
Oh, you never did?
I never watched it.
You get to see Amanda Pete's breasts in that one.
Do you really? Yeah. That's good. It's, of all the things, you jump right to that.
Well, see, because I found out that, because I think I might have mentioned in one of the earlier podcasts, I've got that friend who's a boob inspector.
Right.
He can basically,
he's the expert at like historical boob cinema.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, Hal Berry. Oh, Swordfish.
Natasha Henstridge.
Oh, yeah. Well, she was quite big in the day. But
yeah, so she was in a lot of those.
But she did Species.
Species.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so she's actually just also been one of those women who apparently has come out about Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey
Weinstein.
Yeah. You know what's funny though? This is the sad thing about Hollywood. This is how bad Hollywood is that you can talk about any actress now, literally anyone who was famous in the 90s, right? As a good-looking actress, right? And unfortunately, there will literally be some sort of horrific connection to him.
Yes.
And that's the truth. That's actually what's going to happen now. And Devon, the Harvey Weinstein things, I mean, it is... The most surprising thing about it all is that it's not surprising.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing about it. I mean, honestly, if I had said to you, right, if I said to you, oh, a famous Hollywood producer has been abusing women for, 30 years, I mean, what would you say? You'd probably go, well, obviously. That's a sad fact, isn't it? The fact that it wouldn't be surprising to you, but the fact that now it's being named, I think that's what's kind of the key.
But I think even Dustin Hoffman has even been
seriously
brought into it a bit too as well.
Wow, geez, that's bad. Yeah. I like him too, man. Yeah. I mean, as an actor.
I mean, you can't imagine someone like Ron Howard doing that.
No.
I mean, he'd be just going.
But you don't know though.
Oh, see, he'd be too shy. He'd be one of those people who'd be sort of like, oh, gosh, gee, golly, well, maybe how about we do
But you
this,
couldn't do like, I don't know, you couldn't, I don't, look, we can't, we have to be very careful here because we can't start accusing Ron Howard of doing something. He hasn't done anything. I don't know. I think the creepy part is that you can do some horrible things to, unfortunately, someone of either the same sex or the opposite sex, depending on what, your thing is, right? You can do some terrible things to people and then you can just walk on set after lunch and then just basically go, oh, now we're going to do a very uplifting scene where you save the world and, we're going to make $1 billion. And I think that's the thing about Hollywood is that there's that polar opposite thing going on. Yeah. That as they're creating these, very uplifting movies, and Harvey Weinstein is as an example of someone that's probably created a lot of really quite good art, quite honestly. Not him himself, but he's been funding it for a while. And then all of a sudden all this crap comes out. It's pretty terrible. But again, not surprising, like in the slightest. I tell you, if you, Devon, I tell you what, if you're going to go trick or treating, right? Yeah. You just make sure you tell your kids not to go to Kevin Spacey's house. All right, just don't knock on his door. Avoid him at all costs.
What happens with Kevin Spacey?
Have you not heard about this yet?
No.
So this is quite interesting development. But Kevin Spacey was accused of sexual abuse by a young male actor. The person that's accusing them is currently acting in the new Star Trek series.
Okay.
But he's also a famous actor. He's an actor that's done stage, and he's on Broadway before as well. So what's happened is that he's come out and accused Spacey of actually attempting, I don't think he didn't actually abuse him, he attempted to abuse him back in 1986, I think, when the actor was 14 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kevin Spacey would have been 26.
Yeah.
So, big red flag. I mean, as soon as that came out on the news, that's a big deal. Kevin Spacey actually came out with one of the strangest... Because obviously, if you're someone accused of this, the tricky thing is putting out a press release to explain that.
Yes.
That's the tricky thing. Because I don't know if you read Harvey Weinstein's press release when he was accused. I mean, I think he quoted like Jay-Z.
Yes.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. It is one of the stupidest press releases. He even had the gall to say something like... it was quite, how it was back in those days.
Yeah.
And it's like, what, were you serially abused women?
Yeah.
Back in those, was that just typical? I think some of the parts of it
it's almost like turning around saying, well, when in Rome.
Yeah, I know.
When in Rome.
It's quite shocking. It really is quite shocking. But, I mean, just going back to Kevin Spacey quickly, I mean, what's happened now is that Kevin Spacey did the same thing and he brought out a press release. And the press release was really quite amazing. He said something like, all right, yes, I have in the past had relationships with both men and women, but now I choose to live as an openly gay man. If I had done that horrible thing, which was that I did back then, it would have been very much a drunken moment, and I profusely apologize for doing it. There's a problem with that though, because he basically came out gay and apologized for trying to sexually abuse a minor at the same time. Now, you can imagine how the gay community reacts to something like that.
Yes.
They were appalled by that. So a lot of gay celebrities started coming out going, Kevin Spacey literally invented something that didn't exist before, which was a bad time to come out of the closet. His TV series House of Cards has been cancelled.
Oh, has it?
They had one more season. 6th season was supposed to come out. I'm about halfway through season 4.
Yeah.
So I'm just, getting my way through it. Fantastic show. He's very good in it. He's a very good actor. Suddenly, somebody who worked with him in the Old Vic in London accused him of sexual assault as well.
Yes.
Apparently, there's more actors who worked with him at the Old Vic that are accusing the same thing. All male actors.
Yeah.
And now there's staff from the House of Cards show. They're coming out and saying the same thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really bad. They're almost up to double figures now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. It's actually shocking. It's actually really shocking. So he's actually the last thing I read was that his agent and his publicist, I think, dropped him. I have to tell you, he does come across as quite a charismatic guy on and off camera. As in, like, if you see him interviewed, he's very funny. He does amazing impressions. He's obviously clearly a very talented actor as well. And it's just, you honestly just feel, God, do you have to be one of these idiots too? And look, the truth is that we're probably only itching at the surface of this. There is so much more to come out. And again, like Harvey Weinstein, there's a lot of people now coming out going, oh, I've heard stories about Kevin Spacey for years. Like people going like, oh, I knew in the 90s that he was like that. Which is just like, good God, how does no one talk about this crap? But this is Hollywood, man. It's got that incestuous thing. And if I speak up, then I don't get a job. Which is what, Weinstein did for years. The stories of actresses with him, like he just spontaneously bursted into rooms and just took his dick out. There's not even an attempt to seduce anyone.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's not even like, even try a bit harder. I mean, good God, man. You probably could pick up any women. I mean, he's a rich guy. He didn't have to burst into the room and take his dick out.
You know what how I sort of picture him entering a room? He probably entered the room naked, obviously. But you see those movies, those old-fashioned movies where people were those prospectors where they were trying to find water, and they had those like a twig that was in a Y shape, and it's like they're going, oh, I can feel the vibrations. It's vibrating. There must be water here.
There's a woman somewhere,
and that's what he was probably doing. He's probably walking in, going, yep, my dick's telling me there's a woman this way. Yep, I'll go to the left.
It's true.
I'm gonna now go to the right. Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
Look, I don't want to name everyone because I don't know the exact story factually, but I just find it amazing that there's beautiful women semi-famous. They later would become very famous, and they were getting opportunities through Miramax at the time. And this guy, you're right, man. I mean, imagine, can you not buy someone a drink and have a chat to them and be civil and just see how you go and develop a rapport? I'm out of options. I think I'll just burst the door down and take my dick out. I think that's the way to do it.
He probably says, well, can I get you a cup of coffee, tea, sex, anything?
I know. It's shocking, isn't it? And look, I don't want to laugh too much at it because there are victims in this, and it's not good. But sometimes when you hear about it, it's so ridiculous that you think, how did he get away with it? Devon, I'm not going to lie. If you burst down Gwyneth Paltrow's hotel room door tomorrow and you took your dick out, believe me, mate, you would be on the front page of every newspaper in the world.
Exactly.
I'm not saying you'd do that,
no.
but the thing is, that's what happened, But this guy got away with it. But so, Devon, if you're going trick-or-treating, just keep your kids away from Kevin Spacey's house. I've been thinking about trick-or-treating a little recently because we just had Halloween. And I do find it a bit of a strange, concept. Devon, you're told your whole life that you should never take candy from strangers, and yet we do reserve one day every year to allow kids to roam the country freely, knock on strangers' doors and go, give me some candy. I need some candy. And it's almost like we're preparing kids for a life of drug abuse because that candy to kids is like heroin. It's like, oh, I need give me something, And so I felt like when I went out, it was like I was begging for drugs or cocaine, man, And then we'd come back and you'd be like, man, I got the good stuff. you got the shit stuff, but man, that's the good stuff. That's going to get me well buzzed. When we went trick-or-treating, we had huge discussions that, like, what if we went trick-or-treating, like Halloween's October 31st.
Yeah.
So what if we start trick-or-treating at like 8 in the morning on October 31st? That gives us like 12 hours of like solid door knocking.
Yes.
I mean, we could start a fucking store by the candy. We could, like, and I lived in a very dense housing estate as well. So like by the time, I mean, we were like, because you get greedy, Devon, when you're a kid, So if you have a day of the year where you can go to people's houses and they give you free shit, I mean, you're just going to keep fucking going. And you're like, how far can I take this? But because it's only allowed for the one day, you would blitz it. I mean, we were so organized.
Yes.
We were sending kids out to fucking estates, across the whole country. Like, you go there, I'll go there. Now everyone split up. Don't overlap. We want to maximize the candy gathering as well. I used to come home. I used to have bags of it. Yeah. I swear, it was like doing Christmas shopping. I came back with like 4 bags of candy. If I had enough candy to kill a large cow.
See, I've never actually been trick-or-treating.
You've never done it?
Because it's never been really much of a thing in Australia.
Right. So you've never actually done door knocked?
No, never. No, look, I think the closest thing I ever did was I remember having an old sheet and literally just cut the eye holes out and put it on like a ghost. And I think, honestly, I probably walked to the letterbox in it.
Right.
And thought, this is just silly. I'm like the only person in the whole neighbourhood.
Yeah.
And then just walked back back inside.
You're the only man.
It honestly lasted like 30 seconds.
Yeah, you look like it looks like I'm going to like a Ku Klux Klan meeting of one.
But see, the thing is too, like, I hate it when people knock on my door. Like, I'm one of those people who doesn't even answer the door.
True.
So if someone turns up to my place unannounced, I'm there. The TV can be on. People can hear me. I won't answer the door.
Yeah, true.
Because it could be...
bastard's fucking just sitting watching TV. Yeah, I can hear him breathing.
Because there's nothing worse. I mean, you just imagine, right? Like, you're sitting at home, you're having maybe a nice romantic night in, watching something like Paul Blart Mall Cop or something like that, Because that's a romantic movie.
It is.
Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Nothing says romance like Kevin James.
Well, big people need love.
They do.
And that story is basically a modern day love story.
It's like Shallow Hal.
Yeah, it's about a fat guy, he's a mall cop. He falls in love with a girl who sells wigs, takes down some terrorists.
It's great. I mean,
it pulls on the heartstrings.
That is the all-American story.
It is. But yeah, that's the thing. I really hate being disturbed. And the thing was too, because...
just love how you're like, I can't fucking believe someone is bugging me during fucking Paul Blart Mall Cop. This is the fucking... I'm not taking this shit.
It's just uncalled for. And the thing is too, like...
It's just rude, Devon.
And because we're on the other side of the hemisphere as well, it's daylight saving. So it's like daylight till like 9 o'clock at night as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other thing too. So it's just not... it's just
not on, Devon.
It's not creepy. It's not dark. It's spooky.
So have kids... All right. So let's turn the question over. So you've never went trick-or-treating, right? Yeah. But have you ever opened the door to trick-or-treaters?
Someone once knocked on my parents' door once when I was a kid. I remember my grandmother being there as well.
Right.
And I was very, very young too. And I remember my grandmother telling them off, saying, you've woken up the baby now.
Something subtle, like, go fuck off.
Pretty much, and that was it. That's been the one and only time someone knocked on our front door over the years.
Are you serious? Yeah. So nobody knocked on your door?
Nobody.
I don't know if that's sad or happy.
But the funny thing was too, because see, that was the time when my parents bought the house, it was a brand new housing estate.
Okay.
So basically, all the parents were similar ages, sort of relatively newly married couples, all having kids at the same time. So there was plenty of neighbourhood kids, but it just wasn't a tradition that we did. And people, when they would talk about it, they would just go, "No, that's just an American thing." So
knocking on doors?
Trick or treating. Yeah.
Okay. Just like some American people knocking on doors, talking to their neighbors.
Imagine that trend. I wonder if that will take off.
People have told me that like even the neighbors knowing each other is also customary to certain countries as well. I mean, because I know there's some countries like especially cold countries where we don't go outside.
Yes.
I mean, nobody knows their neighbors.
Exactly.
But that's an environmental thing.
Well, so that's one thing they say about like the Scandinavian people, like the Swedes, for example. They often say that they seem very shy or icy or cold. And a lot of that's also...
So it's cold though.
Well, it is cold too. But but I think a lot of the thing is too, they're in situations where they're not really interacting as much.
Okay.
So they're sort of within their own four walls most of the year too, with the cold climate as well. Yeah. So you're not really interacting too much.
It's dark all the time.
So you think about that over generations, that sort of behaviour.
Oh, yeah.
Becomes a bit of a habit,
I mean, knowing your knowledge. I mean, you told me, you've educated me about Iceland endlessly. I imagine no one in Iceland knows each other Because all this blood, all it is volcanic fucking ash.
They're all related.
Well, I know this.
So
you told me this.
They're all related.
I know
too,
this. Yeah,
so.
if you go back to our first episode, Devon will educate you endlessly about Iceland. I mean, you literally only talk about Iceland in the first episode for maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe less. Probably 5 minutes. But yet, that's all I need to know about that country. I mean, I feel like I've learned so much just within the 5 minutes that you did that.
Exactly.
But Weller doesn't have an effect, you know? I think when we did it, you know, it felt naughty as a child to knock on strangers' doors and ask them for shit for no money.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, that's a cool thing for a kid to do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know anywhere else you can get that. And honestly, people just let us do it. We have to walk for miles.
Yeah.
To get candy, and you get for free. I mean, imagine if you did that on any other day of the year. They'd call police.
Yeah.
So like, it's funny how you can break the law for one night. It's great.
Well, see, I saw one very, very sad case. Actually, literally a couple of streets away from this very studio, probably about 2-3 years ago.
Really? What, like some bad?
Oh well, no, it was just a little bit of a. It was just sad to see with Halloween how it just hasn't taken off, and there was a poor boy trying to sell pumpkins.
Right.
So this was just one of the streets just adjacent to
carved ones.
Well, no. Well, this was
fresh ones.
Well, this was the funny thing too. He was selling pumpkins, and you kind of had to laugh too because these pumpkins. Well, for one, they were green.
Okay.
And they're about the size of lemons. So basically, I'm walking.
What do you do with those?
So I'm just walking along the street.
Okay.
And I could see this kid out the front of the house, and he's singing, but it wasn't even like good singing.
Oh.
So it was like he's sort of singing about his pumpkins. So he was like singing like this. He sort of is going, "I have pumpkins. You can buy them.
No.
They're different sizes, and they cost 50 cents each." That was his kind of singing.
Very creative.
So no thought, no rhythm, no pizzazz or anything like that.
Was he trying to raise money for like music college or?
So basically, he just had on his front fence 4 little green pumpkins trying to sell them. And I
feel like this is the beginning of a Stephen King novel. You know, that's such a creepy image though, like a kid with like 4 pumpkins singing weirdly about it. I mean, that's scary, man.
He was wearing like a little top hat.
Yeah, there's a Japanese horror movie that's the beginning of.
Yeah, so he had his top hat on, a cape.
Right.
And that was it. So, like, there was nobody walking past him in this street, because it was just like middle of...
They're probably crossing the street.
It's middle of suburbia, and I sort of just looked and I sort of walked along and I sort of thought, like I saw the kid, trying to sell these 4 pumpkins at 50 cents each. And I thought, I'm just going to do what any normal person would do.
And buy all of them.
No, I report...
I mean, buy all of them. That's like, what's that, $2?
No,
it's not much, Devon.
I reported him to the tax department because basically, look,
you can't report him to the tax department. It's $2, man.
He's operating a business without a valid Australian business number. Basically, any money he makes, he's not going to declare that on tax.
That is true.
So basically, that's theft. 30% of that $2,
yes,
could have gone to maybe a nail or a screw for a particular bridge for part of the general infrastructure.
I could have built a hospital with that.
What would have happened? They could have built a new train line and they got to the end of the line and gone, oh, great.
Yeah.
We're short one nut or a bolt. Well, thank you, little Timmy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And your fucking underripe pumpkins?
He wasn't operating with a valid food license.
It's true.
We don't know.
I mean, look, if he had a kitchen inspector, it's technically food. He would never have passed that.
He wasn't of legal age.
Yeah.
Too. That was the other thing. You have to be over 15. I think was it 14 or 9 months to be actually working, so that way you can get a valid tax file number.
Oh, well, that's well off. He should probably go to prison for that, Devon, really. I'm not being too mean about it, but really, if he was put in jail to be taught a lesson, that would not be the worst thing, would it?
Yeah, but the funny thing was...
Let's send him to Kevin Spacey's house. Let's do it.
That same scenario happened literally on the other side of the world in Sweden when I lived there. The exact same scenario.
What?
The kid with the pumpkins.
Oh, really?
Because like that kid who I came across a couple of years ago just near here.
Right.
He was basically in the street adjacent to the train station.
So you've seen 2 children in 2 different continents
doing exactly the same thing, and also in a street adjacent to a train station, just really like bizarre. The kid here in Australia.
Wow!
And the thing was there. I thought, once again, there's that kid.
No, was it the same kid?
Different kid,
right?
You know, this one was here in Australia was dark haired. The one over there was blonde, of course.
And did you do the rightful thing?
It was a different species of pumpkin over there. So he had green pumpkins, but they had sort of the yellow variegated, I think, foliage on it. So it's a bit more sort of stripy. They almost look like watermelons or something. Right. Watermelons are sort of green and striped.
Yeah.
But see over there, they've got, I think it's called Skatteverket, which is the tax department over there. So and I mean over there, I mean really, to be dishonest in Sweden is not really good. And I mean once again,
I suppose you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to mess with the Swedish tax department, do you?
Well, they pay the highest amount of taxes in the world, and here's another kid, clearly cheating the system.
I mean, it's just not right.
I mean, in a country where you've got free education,
free universities,
free healthcare, stuff like that. That little bit of money, could have gone to maybe like a Swedish father who has maternity leave.
Correct.
You know, he could have stayed home like an extra 5 minutes.
That's true.
And thanks to that kid.
Yep.
That little, I don't know what was his
name. He didn't do his bit?
Little Sven Larsson or whatever his name was.
That's right.
You know, he
good old Sven.
He's robbing the country.
That's true.
I mean,
but it's not the fact that it's the money, Devon. It's just a slippery slope, mate. I mean, if you let one kid do it,
well, you look.
We've millions of kids all over the place making lemonade on street corners, not paying tax.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not good enough.
The world's going to go to it's going to become chaotic.
It really is. I mean, and look, you know what? If we allow every kid that's selling lemonade or a pumpkin and they're not paying tax, if we let them get away with that, then what next?
I mean, see, at the moment, you know, a lot of people are talking about, for example, like the Asian community buying a lot of property within Australia.
Yeah.
We might have these kids who are not paying any tax. They might be outbidding them in the next generation.
Exactly. I mean, it's properties. It's a hard racket. I mean, we can't let kids get an advantage.
The kid probably has never worked a proper day in an office environment or anything. Everything's just been off the books, selling random pumpkins every year.
And honestly, what about the legitimate pumpkin industry? I mean, there's some genuine, hardworking, blue-collar people there, like legitimately growing and, you know, selling pumpkins legally. Yeah. I mean, why should they be undercut by some sort of spotty 13-year-old on the side of a street? Like,
exactly.
I mean, this is just bullshit.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
I'm glad we're on the same page about this. I think I don't know how you feel about this, mate, but I think me and you should take the lead in policing this.
Yeah.
The anti-child labour, commission. I think we should start up a little bit of a force.
You know what's going to happen? You're probably going to have like mafia bosses and things like that getting on the scene. So you'll see like mafia boss turns up in like a black limousine and goes, "Hey kid, get out of here!" You know, and just destroys the stand, smashes a few pumpkins.
You think you can sell pumpkins on this corner?
Yeah. Oh, bada bim, bada boom, you're gone.
So, let's be honest, Evan. It was $2. Let's calm the fuck down. Yeah. It's not a lot. I feel, though, the fact that you've seen a kid do the same thing in two different continents, it definitely either says a lot about you or a lot about what kids are doing. I don't know which. Are you jealous, Devon, that you didn't get an opportunity to sell pumpkins on the street as well? I mean, is this why you're so hard about it?
Well, you see, I was one of those kids who was very good with money.
Right.
So I would have...
And by being good, you mean not spending anything?
Pretty much.
Right.
But no, I would have been, pretty good. So I would have probably looked and gone, if I'm going to pay money for seeds to grow these pumpkins, and they don't sell, that was a waste of money.
Because true, I mean, that's the labour cost.
The labour cost, water,
soil, fertilizer. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you think most kids, they've got the attention span of like a goldfish.
True.
So they probably would have just literally put the seeds in the ground, watered it once, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's why a lot of parents don't want to buy like pets for kids.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you imagine, right? Like you probably got households where the father's yelling at the kid saying, "Have you given the dog water?" and the kids are probably arguing, going, "Well, that's not fair. I gave the dog water last summer."
The dog's gonna die. He's fucking dehydrated, isn't he? Like, it's fucking 40 degrees. I always think about the pumpkin thing. It's like, is pumpkins one of those vegetables where people grow them really? Like, there's a society of people in the growing world that grow things big. You will be famous because you had the biggest pumpkin or the second biggest pumpkin in like, the eastern seaboard or whatever it is. If you've got a tiny pumpkin, it's not good enough. But I feel like if you grew a really big pumpkin, then you could be famous for it.
Do you know who I reckon would really be into pumpkin growing and doing it well?
Who's that?
Would be the Amish.
The Amish would love that.
Because they love
pumpkins.
They love a barn. Was it a barn raising? I think they called
it. That's it.
A barn raising, and they'd love a pumpkin.
They would.
Oh, they'd have a festival. They'd be dancing around that pumpkin.
Isn't it the Amish though that send like their younger teenagers off into the world for like a year.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I do love the idea, like they kind of send them, what they want to do is they want to say, okay, you want to be outside the Amish world?
Yeah.
Fine. You got that. You go out there and see if you can do it. And then they send them out utterly unprepared to deal with everything that's going on. And then, of course, they come back completely destitute and as failures.
Yes.
But that's because if you send them to Las Vegas and they're fucking Amish, they're going to get eaten alive.
Yes.
They're going to walk 5 minutes down the street, you're going to get mugged.
But see, with the Amish too, when you look at the Amish, like they're very strict in all their rules and
very
things
strict.
Like, and a lot of that's because of the Bible type thing that they follow.
Great.
I don't know what it's called. I don't know if it's a Bible.
The Bible,
whatever it is.
The type thing.
But half the problem is because a lot of, some of them are now starting to question, why do they have to have the beards like such a certain way?
Well, it's very strict though, isn't it?
There's everything, the hat has to have a certain thickness on the ribbon, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of it's because...
You can't have any Calvin Klein t-shirts or,
exactly.
no tuxedo t-shirts
no Nike runners or anything like that. And I think a lot of it's because the language that it was all written in is in Old German, and no one knows Old German anymore.
So it's like extinct.
So it's more or less an extinct language now because it's all evolved.
So the Bible-y thing, nobody knows what it says,
except for the Icelandic people.
Oh, do they know?
Because the Icelandic people, like, their language has basically remained unchanged for thousands of years.
Oh.
So if you read their Bible or anything like that, it effectively...
It's the same.
It's like reading a modern day book.
That's
for
hilarious.
Us. That's the funny thing.
That's like going back, I suppose in Iceland, and if you read like an ancient text from like 7,000 years ago, it's like the front page of the New York Times today. You're like, oh wow, this is great.
But see, if I was Amish though, I would try and push the boundaries on things because, like a lot of them, you can't do certain things, but there's things that you go, yeah, but that's not written in the book. Yeah, I would try and...
Yeah, circumvent a few
I would
things.
still do some things Amish, because you think about like they all have their horse and cart.
You'd be like an Amish rebel. You'd be like the Sid Vicious of like Amish people, mate.
Because I sort of like sometimes think, right, like, you've got your horse, right? They have their horse and their little black cart.
Yeah.
And it's all has to be done a certain way, but then you sort of think, surely there's like a young guy who's got a horse and a cart and he thinks, I want to go fast. Like I want to be. I want to
hit like.
I want to be Fast and the Furious or Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, I want to Vin Diesel the shit out of this bit.
But Amish style.
Yeah, right.
And I was thinking because like you got with the car.
I want to put like a compressor on the horse. Get some knocks on that shit.
Yeah, so instead of putting, and that what got me thinking because it's funny you say like about nitrous oxide and stuff like that because obviously they use that on the cars to give it a bit of boost and stuff.
Well, that seems to be the trick. I mean, there isn't any other trick. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think the Fast and Furious, 9 movies now. You think, is there another way of winning? No, it's just basically nitrous oxide. I mean, I could win this if I had nitrous oxide. I just press the button. That's how you win.
Well, it got me thinking about what could be like the nitrous oxide equivalent for horses for the Amish community. And I thought...
Devin, I've never wanted you to tell me something so much. I so want to hear what this is.
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen like those cartoons where, someone is like trying to get a donkey to move. So they're sitting on the back holding...
Well, they're kicking it.
Or they're holding a fishing rod and it's got like a carrot in front of it and they're dangling the carrot in front of the donkey's face.
So eat the carrot and it keeps moving.
So it keeps moving.
That's right.
And I thought... Well, if you had like a male horse, because usually the male species is meant to be a bit stronger, bigger, things like that. So usually a bit stronger, especially, like a horse like that. It got me then thinking, well, if you were able to find a female horse that's in heat, right? And be able to get its scent put onto maybe a cloth or a rag, you could then attach it to the nose piece that they put on the horses. I think is that the bridle? But put something in front of its nose, so the horse thinks, oh, there's a female horse in front of me.
Oh, I can smell this.
I've got to just bolt and chase after her.
Yeah,
and that would be almost like, I reckon, like the Amish equivalent of putting nitrous oxide on a horse.
I think you could be right. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah. I thought you were going to say something like, we're going to feed it like this fucking special thing that makes it like fart really, really strongly.
Well, see, that's another thing.
Propels it forward.
See, that's the other thing too. You probably could.
You probably
you could. Instead of giving it hay.
But you're so right though. You do know that. It's so agree with you that like Amish kids must go like, fuck it, man. I want to be fucking Vin. I want to go really fast. I want to go the fastest ever.
Because you see those cars, they got the some of them have like the blue flames that shoot out of the exhaust pipes and stuff. So yeah, if you were like saying, okay, this horse, it's not going to have any hay. It's just going to be purely a bean diet. Just a pure bean diet.
A bean day and night.
Because horses
What
are...
are we feeding it?
Yeah.
You know what it is? Beans.
Yeah, because they're herbivores, so there'd be nothing wrong by Amish standards of growing beans.
So I think what we're saying is that like baked beans are like the nitrous oxide for horses.
Yeah, so you just imagine that. So you got this pepped up horse with all the
Wow. I
all,
like
all the
this.
scent from the female horse farting out blue flames.
Beans.
And then you could have and then the wagon itself could still remain much the same, but maybe you could thin down because usually they're made of wood,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they're using a lathe, but
Yeah.
you could maybe reduce the structural integrity of it, make it a lot sort of lighter.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
There's some, because I know with some wood grows very slowly, so therefore the fibers of the wood are much more dense, which therefore weighs more. You could find a tree that grows very quickly, maybe something like a pine, especially in a good environment. So that way, because with wood, you got the rings.
Well, hang on a second. We were talking about horses farting. You're going into like the science of wood. I'm lost. You know what? The Indian film community will take American movies and remake them.
Yeah.
I feel like the Amish should do the same thing. The Amish version of Fast and Furious could be a real thing. I don't know, but I feel if the Amish community have some sort of filmmaking unit in their community, they would do it with horses.
Yeah.
And honestly, it would be basically Vin Diesel riding a horse and The Rock riding another horse next to him.
Yeah.
And then Vin Diesel will win by opening up a can of beans just at the very end of the race and shoving it down the horse's throat. And then the horse goes, whoa, and then it just wins.
And it just becomes...
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's done.
And then it's done. And then of course by the end, the horse's legs are broken, but he still won. You know what? We're talking about the Amish. All I want to do is watch Witness now. That's my entire education of the Amish people, which I think most of the Western world will say this, is just the fucking Harrison Ford movie Witness. Anything else apart from that, I haven't a damn clue about it. I think Harvey Weinstein, he would have been the worst Amish person of all. He would have been terrible. They would have sent him off in his year, outside the world, and he would have fucking snorted so much cocaine. He would have been terrible. He would have came back and went, man, fuck Amish. Not going back.
He could have passed for being Amish too, because with a German surname, because a lot of them are descendants of Germans.
Yeah, true.
So I think a lot of them do speak German as well.
Yeah, true.
So.
Well, I do remember the movie Witness, because the whole pleasure of watching the movie Witness was basically Harrison Ford attempting to be an Amish person, but he was awful at it.
Yeah.
He was the worst Amish person of all time, and then he would just get annoyed and then punch someone in the face.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is great. It's him trying to be good, but he can't be good because then he just punches people out. And that's the reason why that film was fun to watch.
But once again, think about it, like an Amish person, like they could be really quite strong too. Because you think about it.
Yeah, if they these guys gotta lift a barn.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be upper body strength. They've got to be significant.
Exactly.
See, this is why I'd be an awful Amish person, because I'd have to get up at 6 a.m, which I think I may be biologically incapable of doing. I don't think I can actually get up at 6. I've attempted this, but I am not convinced 6 o'clock in the morning actually exists as a time. I think it's like more like, I go to bed at midnight and then some sort of portal transfers me to 9 a.m. I don't think anything between there is real. The thing is, I couldn't lift a barn, Devon. I wouldn't be good I couldn't do it. You would be a good Amish person, though.
I would be, because
you're tall.
Well, see, I'm tall. I'm of Germanic background as well.
Yeah,
so
correct.
I can't grow a good beard. I mean, lesbians can grow better beards than me, but
but if you ever become a lesbian, you'll fit in great.
But you know what I could probably do? Because I think in one of our earlier podcasts, we talked about the Lurfkin dog.
We did.
Which was a dog that, they shave the bum of the dog.
That's right.
So, if I was an Amish person...
I tried to forget that, but you're bringing it back.
Yeah, but see, that was a German dog as well. So if you were an Amish person, you could probably breed them. I could shave the hair off, use it as a beard.
You could.
I could supply beards
to people that are lesbians in the Amish community. Just speaking aloud. People spend their whole lives, being gay and being in denial, and then they come out at like 40 and they're like, gay, I'm gay, and they just can't stand anymore. You are like a closeted Amish person. You are like someone that is, you are like, you know you're Amish.
Yeah.
You 100% Amish. You totally fit the criteria. You believe in it entirely. And yet I just feel like you'll hit 40 and you'll be like, I can't do it anymore. It's true. I'm Amish. And then everybody around you is like, oh, I knew it. I met Devon when he was 15. I knew he was Amish. I can't believe it took him this long to admit it. Finally, he's gonna stick some horse fur to his face and be who he really is. Now, I want to make a remake of Witness, and I want to have you be like the older Amish guy in it. You know?
See, we could cast you as the boy. We just shave,
I could.
We just shave the top lip.
Yeah, I could
you've
do
already
it.
You've already got the beard, so you just need to shave off the top lip, and that would be it.
Yeah, and I think that in the movie, doesn't the kid look under the bathroom stall to see the murder?
Yeah.
I can do that now.
Yeah.
I can fit there.
I do feel sorry though. You know how, like in a lot of office buildings too, there's the cleaner. You know, who has to go in and clean the toilets.
Yeah, true.
You
I mean,
know.
I've noticed in the office environment is that they do clean multiple times a day, which is a clever thing, Devon, because you wouldn't want to let that shit gather up for maybe 12 hours and then have a try. Because you'd be like, fuck no, I'm not doing
But
that.
wouldn't you feel bad though? Like, this is the thing too. Like, I mean, it's, you know, you've gone to the toilet, you destroyed the toilet basically. And then you,
What you say? What do you mean by that? They're like, they just shit all over the walls.
It's amazing when you
shit in
see
the mirror. You know?
Well, that's the thing. It's like some people, like I don't know what they have eaten, and you go like, have they put like a sprinkler attachment on their backside or something? You go like, there's shit on the ceiling.
But I've actually went in and there's like shit like on the fucking like the top, like not even in the bowl. Like outside the bowl.
I've seen toilets.
And I'm like, my God, like how much of a projected shit do you need to do to have it go fucking against gravity? You know?
But I've seen like shit on the back of the door. And I'm thinking,
what the fuck
your
is
bum's
that?
facing a totally different direction.
I know.
It's like
you would have to turn around and fucking aim for that.
It's like someone's got a grenade and they've like thrown it, and then the force has just gone.
I think as a toilet cleaner, you'd want to do that shit as frequently as possible because, you know, of all the toilets you would have to clean, as a professional toilet cleaner, the most devastating one would have to be the nightclub toilet, which we've talked about before.
Yes.
But I do have nightmarish visions of like the club closes at 3 a.m. and then there's that horrible moment where, okay, I've tended bar for now 2 hours, made a bit of money, got a few tips. Now I have the great job of getting the fucking mop and finding out how many corpses I'm going to have to clean up from the fucking shithole of the meal bathroom, you know? But I do, you know, for people that do it, I mean, I respect, because it's got to be done, you know?
Well, you know what? If I ever go into the pumpkin growing business, any of the profits I sell,
yeah, right,
I might give them a tip to those cleaners. Just say, here's 50 cents.
I take great pleasure in the fact, Devon, that when you do start up your pumpkin selling business, I'm just glad you will be paying tax.